What's up guys, it's Eli and welcome back to the channel for another video. In my last video, I kind of casually mentioned that I may be making Logic my main go-to mixing DAW moving forward. And I think that may become a reality sooner than I anticipated. I really had no idea why I didn't like mixing in Logic. I just didn't. With their last update, it kind of all makes sense. With the features that they released with that update, it just kind of put all the dots together for me as to why I maybe would not enjoy mixing in Logic, right? Because all the other DAWs that I've used have those features, and they were just things that I used without even thinking about them. So not having them in Logic inevitably would have some effect. But now that Logic has got up and have all these features available now, what really is stopping me from mixing in Logic? And that is what we are on a mission to find out. And I really wanted to do one update video down the line to give you guys an update as far as whether I was still making the transition to mixing full-time in Logic, or if I was still debating whether or not that was going to happen. But I figured I might just take you guys along for the ride and show you guys features that I prefer the way Logic does them over the other DAWs. To kind of keep these videos a little short, I'm not going to be going back and forth between the two DAWs. I'm simply going to show you how Logic handles those features. To kick it off, I'm going to start with two features. The first feature is actually something that speaks to me as somebody that mixes front of house for a church. If you guys have any experience with mixing with the modern day digital consoles, this feature should speak to you as well. Of course, I'm talking about the send on faders feature. Now, it doesn't exactly work like the digital consoles do, but it's very similar. In a digital console, right, you would select the bus that you want to work with and hit send on fader, and now all those faders would be available to be mixed on that for that bus. Let's say you wanted to do a monitor for your lead singer. You would select whatever bus is fitting that monitor, and now all the channels on the console would be available to be mixed to that monitor, right? Or maybe that singer is like, hey, I need more of me on my monitor. You'd maybe start with their microphone because you have a lot more input than you have buses, so it would be easier to just select their microphone and send their bus the amount that they are looking for. Anyways, I'm not here to talk about mixing front of house. I'm here to talk about mixing in Logic, right? So the way Logic does it, essentially, when you turn on sends on faders, what it does, it automatically select whatever bus that you were working on last, or whatever is the closest, I guess. And from there, it basically turns all the faders into volume control for that bus, right? So specifically the ones that are feeding to that bus. So what Logic does is basically it turns off all the other fader options on your session, but the ones that are feeding the bus you have selected are available on your main faders now. And it also keeps that bus return, that effects return track for that bus, right? So as you can see here, main verb is the bus that I have selected, and this right here is the return track for my main verb, and you'll see all the sends are now on the faders highlighted in yellow. All right, so that is basically how Logic does it. So if I were to navigate and go through a few different ones, let's see, you have my half delay, right? You have the fader here, and then you have the sends over here, right? You can cycle through pretty much everything in your session. It's the same thing. That is pretty much how Logic does it. And this is not something that I actually use in Logic, because the way that Logic has the sends fed up by default, I think works just great. So I never have the need to actually use the sends on fader feature, but I just think it's cool to have as somebody that does mix for front of house. I think that's pretty cool. All right, so moving on to the next feature, and that is sidechaining. Now, mixing in Pro Tools primarily, I hate the way Pro Tools handles sidechaining, but everything else that it does works for me and how my workflow works in Pro Tools. So I do sidechain in Pro Tools just fine. It's, not the end of the world, but I would prefer if they had a different way of doing it. but you know, it is what it is. It works for now. That's what I'm going to be using. But the way Logic does it, I think, is a lot better than the way Pro Tools does it. All right, so if I find one of the tracks that I am working on that I have sidechain on, right? So I have this back delay going on. So I have some effects going on in my backing tracks. So that's why I call this back delay. I should probably rename it to specifically what the delay is doing. That way, when I pull up the mix again, I'm not gonna be searching for what that is. Anyways, that's a different story. So, so I have this return track that's for my delay for the background vocals, right? And I have my background vocals here. With this, I am sending to this delay, but I didn't want the delay to be in the way of the background vocals or in the way of the back of the lead vocals. So I wanted to sidechain it, right? So yeah, let me show you real quick what the backgrounds are doing. They're not really doing much. So another way I could have handled this is with automation, but since the background vocals are not really doing much, I think sidechaining it could get me the results that I was looking for. Right, so as you can see, they're not really doing much. They're not doing a lot of singing. It's mostly like repeating a phrase or something like that, or some harmonies to the lead. That's pretty much what all the background vocals are doing. Right, so getting back to the mix view, so I have my sending to this return track, to this bus, right, and then I have a compressor for the side chaining. So first thing I did, of course, is dial in the settings for my side chain, right? Pretty high ratio, 16:1. And then the threshold is pretty much getting it up. Turn off the auto gain with the Logic compressor. Every time you open up the Logic compressor, it automatically have auto gain on. So I turned that off because I did not want the auto gain. I didn't really want the makeup gain either. So that's why you'll see makeup gain is still set to 0, but the auto gain is off. I basically wanted the delay to be in the background. It's more of a felt effect than a heard effect. So hopefully that makes sense. All right. So once I had all my settings dialed in, the next thing to do would be to route the side chaining, right? In Pro Tools, typically I would have to create a bus, call that bus sidechain, and then insert this bus here onto my sidechain key and the plugin that I'm using, in this case, the Logic compressor, right? But in Logic, you don't need to do any of that. All you got to do is go to the sidechain key and select the bus or track that you want to trigger your sidechaining. In this case, since I wanted all the background vocals to trigger the sidechain, I just used the master bus for my background vocals, so, which happens to be bus 4. Right. So with that, I have it sent. And once you have it selected, you can see here, it adds the 4th option under your menu here. So first, Logic will pretty much have all the tracks you have available to use as sidechain, right? So if you had instruments, it's going to have those as well. So I got audio, input, buses. Those are the tracks that I have in this session. That's what Logic is giving me option to. But if I had instruments, I would have those instrument tracks here as well. So yeah, I selected the bus and it puts it here to let you know this is the bus that you're using. And that's pretty much it. Your sidechaining is done. No sends slot is being used to sidechain. So I love that feature where in Pro Tools, you have 8 slots available per track, and to eat up one of them, I think is pretty unnecessary, even though like if you shouldn't really need 8 sends on a track to actually create mix with, but you know, it is what it is. I like that I'm not eating up a send, you know. So that is pretty much it. And just to show you guys what that is actually doing, I'm going to play a little bit of the track for you. I'm going to play it in context with the mix, and then I'm going to play it in solo so you can actually hear what it's actually doing. All right. So real quick, this is what it's doing. All right, so that was it in context of the mix. And now I'm going to solo that track so you can actually hear what the side chaining is doing to that delay effect. All right. To get to you, could it be true? All right, so as you could hear, as the vocal was actually singing, the delay was tucked away in the background. But when the vocal let up, you could hear the effect. So here it is again in context with the mix, and then I'm going to flip it to solo. All right, so here it is in the context of the mix, and again in solo. To get to you, could it be true? I'm told there's a better way to get to you. Could it be true? Lord, if you hear me now, show. All right, and that is pretty much it. You know, setting up sidechain in Logic is a lot simpler than setting it up in Pro Tools or any other DAW that I've used for that matter, right? All you got to do is choose the plugin that you want to use and go to the sidechain key, select the track you want to trigger it. That is it. No need to set up a bus, right? So I prefer to do it this way because I get to it a lot quicker. And also I'm not eating up a send slot. All right, and that is it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to drop a like and comment down below to show your support to this channel. And if you're new, don't forget to hit on the subscribe button and turn on the notification for more videos like this. All right, I'll see you on the next one.